Welcome to Mixtapes and Tasty Cakes with your host Bert Laporte, Damian Monte Carlo, and Angry Mike D. Alright, sit back and enjoy the ride as they talk about all things that rock and other useless knowledge you don't care about. And remember, every asshole has an opinion. This is theirs. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.
Damien's fixing his hair because we're going live.
I don't know. I was getting on into this over here.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of crazy.
Let me go powder my nose.
I put on my good wig for tonight, so
right.
All right, I'm thinking about getting a good wig.
Now, Mike, is that a virtual background? Because those tape cassettes look like the size of VHS tapes. So.
Yeah, they're VHS tapes. Now that's a virtual.
That's the funny thing. I'm looking over your shoulder, right
here. I got a couple of Kiss tapes.
Yeah, there's some Kiss tapes. It's good stuff.
This is old stuff. High school stuff before maybe.
Nice.
This is Mixtapes and Tasty Cakes podcast. We're doing. I thought it was an album battle, but Bert tells me we're going to rank 2 Kiss records. 50th anniversary of Dress to Kill, and the 40th anniversary of Kiss Asylum. In my opinion, one of them has probably their better album covers, and the other one's probably like the worst album cover. Asylum being absolutely hideous. I still can't look at it. But I love the record.
Well, let me tell you, because I was going to say something about that, but I didn't want to be the Debbie Downer on that one. So I'm glad you started that one off with the album cover.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, even for the 80s, even back then, I didn't like it. Maybe it was supposed to be like avant-garde, like some sort of Andy Warhol art or something, 80s art, but I don't know, man. Yeah, it's just...
All right, now look, here's the funny thing. If you turn it just a little bit like that, it's Kiss Dynasty. You know what I mean? Right. It's 4 faces. Now you turn it like that, suddenly people are losing their marbles. It's got that paint swatches across the middle. I always thought it was kind of cool, especially at this time, because what they're really saying is this is us without the makeup. You know what I mean? You can't get more stark than 4 faces right up front. You know, it's like, and it's funny because I've been debating this album on podcasts for a long time, and people always really seem to hate the cover, but it's saying, look, we're Kiss. So I always liked it. And I had a shirt with that on it and everything, and it was just like it's funny because it kind of goes back to, it's funny when you said if this was an album battle, because if you took Dress to Kill versus Asylum, man, it's a knockdown winner in the first round. Dress to Kill is one of the best albums of all time. But the covers, I always like that cover. I mean, but then again, the Dress to Kill cover is much better.
Yes. I mean, it's the whole 80s garb that they were wearing. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow.
But that's the thing. You don't even see the costumes now on the back. Obviously, you flip it over and you're saying, okay, look. But I mean, they look like Bon Jovi and everybody else.
Yeah, that doesn't look too bad.
That's all right. But I mean, I don't know. I never understood. You get all the hate. You get all the subtlety of the solo album colors in their lipstick. You see, like, hey, look, people might argue that Bruce should not have Ace's blue. But look, it's Kiss fans. They'll argue everything. You know that.
That's true.
And so do I. I'm not.
Come on, Mike.
Yeah. So I figured out what I had to do. While I was having this up and I was having Facebook up, I was hearing 2 different things. So I had to actually mute my regular Facebook because it was fucking, dude, I was hearing 30 different fucking voices in my head. It was insane. I'm like, oh my God, this is a fucking
Now you're back down to the usual 5.
You should be used to that, Bert.
Yeah. And Damien's going, are we ready? Are we ready? Hurry up. Are we ready? And I'm like, wait a minute. I hear 12 voices. Yeah. And I hear his voice like 40 seconds, 30 seconds after. All right, so we're going to start off with Dress to Kill. Yeah, man. It's funny because both of these albums are like a half an hour, a little over a half an hour, maybe a silent. They're
Yeah.
both short records. Um, and yeah, so like the photograph, which we're going to put pictures up, and Matt won't on our recording. Matt's got some cool photographs of where Dress to Kill was. The picture was taken of. Do you? What's your memory on that, Matt?
So it's funny. I mean, obviously the I'll go back in time a little bit. The one year we went up to New York, and my younger daughter, so I think it was 2000, like 14 or it might have been two. I got to remember the date. But anyway, she wants to go to the American Girl doll store, which is right in the city. And we get on a train, we go up, and I said to my wife, while we're in New York, we got to go see the Dress to Kill corner. And she's like, "What's the Dress to Kill corner?" And I'm like, "We're getting on the subway, we're going up." So I mean, obviously, everybody that knows it, it's if you go to New York City, it's West 23rd and 8th, right on the corner. And there you are. You're standing on the spot where they took that picture. And it was funny because at the time, she's a trooper and she'll go along with all my stupid ideas. She's taking my picture and everything. And everybody kind of looks at you like, "Why are you standing there taking a picture on the corner?" It's like, I know. But it's funny because then that same year, I actually was able to do an interview with Bob Gruen, who, of course, did that photo session. And he was just so cool about telling me the stories about, going there that day. And of course, it was for a Cream photo novella, which you've probably all seen. But he was so funny. And that was the one question I asked him was, and of course, he has a million great shots. When you think of John Lennon at the Statue of Liberty, that's Bob Gruen. When you think of that New York City John Lennon shirt, photo session, Bob Gruen. And then these photos. And I said to him, while you're out there that day taking the cover photo, was it weird or anything? He goes, "It's New York. You got to be really weird to stand out." Yeah. And that's the funny thing. He says, "We just walked around taking pictures." And, so it was super. It was just funny. Like, and I guess it was last year, somebody took it to a New York, like, planning commission or whatever. They want to get some kind of monument on that spot. You'd never know you'd never know if you're just walking through. And it's really funny. My friend Bob Brodsky, he and his friend went there the one time, and he's standing there at the thing, and they're taking his picture, and he's got his Dress to Kill shirt on, and some dude leans out and goes, "Hey, they took that picture here." It's like, well, why else do you think I'm standing here?
Yeah.
Matt, I have a question for you. Do you know if when they did that photo shoot, if that was intended originally just for the magazine, for Cream magazine, and they liked the photo and they said, "Let's make it an album cover"?
That's
or was
what
it an album shoot?
when I talked to him, he said it was just for the Cream magazine spread, and that then they liked the picture. Which is funny because when you think about it, at the time, at that point they still have kind of the simpler leather costumes and everything. Right. And there's definitely a number of those photos that are the same kind of iconic level, but for whatever reason, there you go. That was the pick. And he said, "Yeah, we just went out and took a bunch of pictures with that script in mind, not really thinking about the album cover."
Right. That's crazy.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's crazy. So I guess we should say that we have Matt Porter on with us, which we didn't say yet in the beginning, but Matt Porter's here from the Kiss Room, Monaco Radio. He's known all along. The Kiss fans. And
well, look, any of your fans actually remember I was on here about a year ago. We were talking about the Ace Frehley album at the time. That was fun. So those of you that are really fans of this podcast, you remember me.
Yeah. And of course, Matt's brother Anthony, great player, plays in. We played in Clash and Plaid, 3 Chord Money. Anthony Porter is an awesome dude. One of the nicest guys I ever met. I'll always say that. A really good dude, man. And same as Matt. That's why we're having Matt.
Well, I'll tell you, I have the very rare Anthony P. marked up label copy of Dress to Kill from back then, and it actually says Anthony P. on the sticker because when you would take it into school, you had to make sure you knew it was yours. So Anthony Porter, shout out to you. I still have that record.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good stuff.
Yes, I did my homework and brought these along with. So
nice. So we'll let everybody know how we do this. We're doing rankings, of the albums. So what we do is 1 to 10. Each song gets 1 to 10. We each give it a 1 to 10. We give a little description of what we think of the song. We take all the numbers, we combine it for a total score. So I could give it a 10. Mike could give something a 2. Crazy score. So it always comes out wacky, and we come out with a total average at the end. So, so we're going to start this countdown here. I'm going to start with Damien. Coming in at number 10 for Dress to Kill. Ladies in Waiting. What do you
Ladies
got,
in
Damo?
Waiting. It's one of my favorite tracks on the record. Actually, this record is probably out of the '70s records is probably my favorite. It's probably a close. Dynasty might be tie, I think. Those two are like my two favorite '70s records. But Ladies in Waiting, I love that tune, man. I gave that a 7.75 out of 10.
Okay, Matt, what you got?
You know what? I agree with Damien. Dress to Kill really is among my top 5 of all Kiss records. So it was funny when I sat down to score it, I didn't want to just give everything a 10, just go, okay, I love this. I tried to be somewhat objective, but it's like, but it definitely is an album that has always stuck in my favorites. This, oddly enough, Ladies in Waiting, I put kind of lower with a 7, just because I think it's one of those songs that maybe hasn't aged quite as well. Only like, he's been to the market and the meat looks good tonight. It just sounds like, it's like a caveman, and it's like, I mean, and it's funny because that's one of the things, a lot of these songs, you think about getting it when you're 8 years old. And then you're listening to it when you're 18 years old or 28 years old or 30, and you just keep counting. But like at the time, I always pictured Gene going to the supermarket because I'm 8 years old. I don't know, you know what I mean? So it's like you don't really think it's maybe a room full of hookers or whatever. It's like so. I mean, that's the thing. I always liked it, and I've always been a Gene guy. So the fact that it's got the Gene vocal, but I was probably one that scored lower even with a 7 from me. So.
Well, Mike Day, what you got?
I gave this one a 6. I didn't hate it. I mean, it has a classic Kiss sound. Really didn't love it either, so it was just kind of there for me.
Okay, Ladies in Waiting, I gave a 7.25. Another tune where they get right into it, man. They just go right into the song. I think it fits well in the record. It's got a cool little guitar parts in there. Overall, decent tune. Not great, but decent. Coming at number 9, Anything for My Baby. What you got there, Damo?
Another one I just love, but man, Matt, you'll understand, you'll understand that the way I rank these songs, I'm like to the decimal point with each song. So it's not like a 7, a 5, a 6. It's like 7.6, 8.1. I'm so weird because I judge it on like what I think is the best song, which would be like a 10 or a 9.5. And then I go down from there. So this one I don't like as much as Ladies in Waiting, even though I still love it. I gave it a 7.6.
Okay. Matt, what you got?
What are we on? We're on Anything for My Baby. See, I have my list on the order that they were on the album. So it's just so, I mean, obviously, this is a funny one. Now, I scored it as an 8 because I really like it. And the funny thing is, there's this one and Love Her All I Can as like a pair that are essentially, I think they stand out because they're really about healthy relationships. Like later, a lot of this stuff they would go on, like even if you compare it to Ladies in Waiting, he's looking at meat. These songs are, I'm in love and I feel so good. It's just like, I find that really refreshing. Even as a little kid, I kind of knew that he was singing about somebody that he cared about.
I think it's just a hooker. He came and now he's like,
it could be right. Well,
she's the best.
If Eric's finished, then he's out the door. But it's one of those things where, that song, like these songs, you can tell this is back before they've really started writing to the characters. He sounds like he's writing to a relationship, and I always thought that was really that's a strength on this album is they still are writing, just really good rock songs.
Yep. Mike Day, what you got?
I'm sorry. He gave a good perspective on that one. So I gave this one a 5.5. Wasn't my favorite. This actually probably was my least favorite song on this album. Like to me, it sounded like 5 other Kiss songs like rolled into one. This was not my thing.
All right. Anything for My Baby, I gave it an 8. Again, they get right into it. They waste no time. I like the vocal melody line. The delivery during the verse is really cool. And I think it's another memorable tune that fits well on the record. I think it's pretty good. Coming in number 8, True Tama. What you got there, Ding?
Ah, man, I love this one. The intro, how it comes in, it's so heavy for, for them, for that period. And, like every song on this album, there's some great Peter Criss drum fills, but there's also some killer Gene Simmons bass lines. And this one has a killer bass line. And it's, just a real good, catchy song. Uh, I gave it an 8.1.
Okay. What you got, Matt?
Two-timer, I gave a 7, even though, I mean, obviously, like what Damien said, the riff is great. It's heavy. It comes right in. It's a Gene song. But the idea of Gene getting cheated on, or like, you can call me a loser, you go, at this point, this is clearly way before Gene has decided that he's the God of Thunder. The God of Thunder doesn't get cheated on. The God of Thunder, more like the girl that Mike just described in the previous song, he's using them up and moving along. But so that idea, I always thought that, wow, Gene, some girl cheated on Gene with somebody with a nicer car. Come on.
Yeah, now he just slings it around.
Right. Now it's, then by the time you get to like, Sonic Boom, it's yes, I know nobody's perfect, but I'm close. And it's just,
Funny.
He wasn't confident back then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mike D, what you got?
Probably one of the better ones on the album for me. I gave this a 7. It's got that classic Kiss sound for me, which I kind of like. So when I hear that I like that classic Kiss sound.
Cool. I gave Two-Timer 7.25. Very cool intro. I like Gene's vocals a lot. I think it's got a good pre-chorus, a decent chorus. And I like this one probably because I like Gene's voice. There's something about Gene's voice that sounds great. And on vinyl, it just sounds fucking great. So yeah, and Ace has got some tasty licks in this one too. It's definitely distinctive. Okay, coming in at number 7, Room Service. What do you got, Damo?
I think it's Room Service is a great underrated opening track. I love this song. It's very like Chuck Berry guitar work, up tempo song, Room Service. It's about, the band is on tour now and it's all, in planes and hotels, and it's all about that kind of life. I gave it an 8.
All right. Matt, what you think about this one?
Yeah, I also gave it an 8. I really like this song, and it's funny because I mean this has such a powerful opening, and it's certainly for the song first song on the album. And this one I always think of later as you ever hear that Tom Snyder interview where Paul Stanley says, you go out on tour and you're expecting women, and you start settling for girls, and it's like, and it's you figure he's looking for somebody just to come to his room and. Obviously, like Damien said, it's that lifestyle that you imagine that you want to think of as that they were out on tour, and everybody around you is up for grabs, so to speak. So it's just, certainly as far as the album opener too, really fantastic song.
Yep, Mike D.
Yeah, another good song. I gave this one a 7. Again, that classic Kiss sound. It's got it.
Room Service. I gave it a 7 also. The opening track. Waste no time, man. They get right into it again. It's a fun tune with amusing lyrics. It's pretty amusing, It's amusing lyrics. But keep in mind, they're Kiss lyrics. So what do you want,
One thing before we skip on now, it's funny. Mike has said with almost every song, it's the classic Kiss sound. I think one of the things that about this album is now you figure it was produced by Neil Bogart, certainly not known for being a great producer, but I think the reason why it has a classic Kiss sound, there was almost no real wall between them and the record because they just would go in and they're playing. And I mean, if you read any of the books, obviously they talk about making this album, and Neil Bogart would just be like, "Yeah, it sounds good." So it's like they were really deciding. It's why it says produced by Neil Bogart and Kiss. I think it's why it has such a raw sound because he didn't really necessarily know what he was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, but yet when you really listen to it, and you said like listening to it on the vinyl, like I put it on the vinyl and I was actually listening in my headphones, and there's a lot going on both sides. So it's really, especially for the time when they're definitely rolling it right to tape, they're not doing all kind of tricks. It's the band really on fire on this album, and that's so every time you say classic Kiss sound, I think it's because it really captured the talent of this band at that time. I mean, firing on all cylinders. So
yeah, and this is like 50 years ago, right? It's 50.
Think about
it's 50
that.
years.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And Paul's voice, it's classic Paul. It's when Paul had a little more of that tough guy voice going on. He had that. Woo,
He
New
still
York,
has that
yeah.
New York City accent
Yes.
too.
Yeah, I could deal with Paul in the older
Yeah.
stuff. The newer
Yeah.
stuff,
Well, he started singing really, really good and really high and too much,
Well,
maybe.
Yeah, and he lost that street kind of speaking voice also. That
Yeah.
New York street. He became a millionaire living in Beverly Hills. So his vocabulary has grown and he speaks well. And that came out
Yeah.
in the singing and everything.
Some vodka and orange juice.
Well, that's a good point too. The fact they really haven't made any money yet.
Yeah.
By this, they're making this album with that idea that boy, if we can get another album quick, they won't be sending back those first couple albums. So I mean, at this point, they're still poor. They haven't really had any success yet. So I think that in a lot of these songs, you're not hearing that necessarily larger than life vibe yet because they're still, wearing shoes with holes in them. So.
Yep. Coming in at number 6, Getaway. What do you got, Dame?
Getaway is it's Peter Criss vocal track. I think it's a pretty underrated Peter Criss song.
I agree.
Too. Kind of almost like a forgotten one. I really like it. I gave it a 7.5.
Okay, Matt, what do you think about Getaway?
Look, he's over there splitting hairs. I just was given simple meat-fisted 8, boom. But I mean, really, and again, I think the fact that it's the one track on the album with straight up Peter vocals is fantastic. But also, who has not gotten in their car on a Monday morning and thought, I got to get away. I got to get out of here. You're cranking up this album and you're thinking, oh man, do I really need to go to work again today?
Yep. Mike D.
yeah, I gave this one a 7. I like this one. I actually kind of like the bass line going through the verses on this one. It's got a little cool feel to it.
Yep. I gave Getaway an 8. I like this tune. I think it's a memorable one. Peter's voice sounds so good. I love his voice. I love the rasp in his voice. It's so good. His voice is really cool. Very hooky pre-chorus. Ace has got a distinctive, sound throughout the whole thing. Great guitar filler parts. It's really a good tune for me. I like this one a lot. Coming number 5, Rock Bottom, Damo. What you got?
Rock Bottom, really solid tune. Especially to me, I think the acoustic intro really, really makes it. It shows a side of them that they never really, they don't really show too much of that. The cool acoustic stuff, especially with, Paul and Ace playing kind of like, interweaving shit. I don't know what the proper terminology is. You know what I mean, though. But yeah, I like the tune. It's probably my least favorite on the album, and I gave it a 7.25.
Okay, Matt, what do you think of Rock Bottom?
I love this song. I threw this in at a 9 because it's again that. Now I think that is the guitar technical term, interweaving shit. Interweaving describe shit. It really that intro is beautiful. I mean,
Yes.
It really it's one of this whole album is fast and hard and in your face, whereas this is like all of a sudden it's kind of a break. It's this kind of beautiful little intro, and that's the funny thing. And I sent you the screenshot of this, Al, was that I had put on Twitter one time, and I addressed it to Gene and Paul and Ace. What is the name of the Rock Bottom intro? Does it have a name,
Right.
or is it just known as the Rock Bottom intro? And Gene replied to my tweet and said the name is George. So I tell everybody that. I always say that the Rock Bottom intro is really named George. But but I mean, this is one of those songs that has come around a bunch of times where they play it live, and that's where they'll do the intro, and Paul would say, and now it gets heavier. Now here comes the heavy part, and you're waiting for it, and so I don't know. I love this. And it's funny how really that intro is probably about as long as the rest of the song. It's a short song really, but but yeah, I love it.
Yep, Mike D, Rock Bottom.
Yeah, I think the intro actually boosted up the song for me. I gave this a 6.5, but yeah, I love the instrumental part at the beginning. That was really cool.
Okay, Rock Bottom, I gave an 8.75. The beginning instrumentals, it's just awesome. It's just awesome. It has such an eerie feel to it. I'm surprised they didn't just have this, like you were saying, as a standalone, because it really, I don't know if it makes sense with the other part of the song. It should just be its own thing, right?
Yeah.
George. He calls it George. So George should have his own spot. But then it's still a pretty damn good song when it does kick in. Paul sounds great on it. I like the bass line throughout the song. Good chorus. It's power heavy Kiss. So I gave that one an 8.75. Going on the number 4, She, Demo.
She is, great tune, classic song, goes back to their pre-Kiss band, Wicked Lester. I really like the jam part in the middle. And I gave it I give this 7.8.
Okay. Matt, what do you think about She?
Yeah, I put an 8 on this. I love this. And it's like Damien mentioned, this was a Wicked Lester song, which if you search it out, it's like Jethro Tull. It's got like that flute,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hysterical.
So
but I mean, this is so heavy. It's funny because this is another one I remember as a kid, like, when they sing, She Walks by Moonlight, in my mind, I always pictured like an exotic looking woman, like on a beach at night. And like, you think about those old black light posters that you used to see. She looked like one of those. And that was, and my young mind could barely imagine what was happening. So it was just like, but even that, like, she's got that exotic vibe. And this is another one where I think one of the strengths of most of these songs on the album is that Gene and Paul sing together. Like, you've got always with all their vocals coming through, like, and Gene does that high part, on a lot of these songs. And this one in particular, whoa, and you're like, it's Gene still trying to do the Beatles and having a real range. And so that throughout the album, but even this song stuck in my mind is it's one of those things where it feels like they're really all in the studio together doing this because all the voices are so well blended in.
Yep. Mike D, She.
This is probably my second. I'm actually going to say this is probably my favorite song on the album. I did give something higher, but I gave this one an 8.5. I really like the groove on this one.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a really cool, groovy song.
I gave She a 10. This is one of my all-time favorite songs of all time for Kiss, especially for Kiss. I love the singing together during the verse. The song has a great riff in it. Awesome pre-chorus, awesome chorus. Musically, I think it's incredible. The breakdown jam part and solo is so damn good. I dig the drums. The drums are fucking cool as shit in this song. I just love it. Matter of fact, we just were screwing around with it at rehearsal, and I'm like, damn, we got to do this. Like, it opens you up to actually go off a little bit and have fun. You know what I mean? And I could drink a pineapple juice or something.
Cranberry juice.
Cranberry juice.
Back orange juice.
Yeah, it's got so many cool parts in the song. I absolutely love She still to this day. Coming at number 3, Come On and Love Me, Damo.
Yeah, man, this is another great song. Just straight ahead rocker. I remember Skid Row covered this, and that's when I really kind of like got my attention, because to me it was always sort of like I don't know, I just never really paid attention to it on this album. Then they covered it. I was like, I got to go back and listen to that, and I love the song. I gave it an 8.5.
Okay, cool. Matt, what'd you give it?
Yeah, I had this was a 10. I mean, I always thought this was really one of my favorites. I always loved the fact that he sings I'm a Capricorn, she's a Cancer, because obviously Paul Stanley and I are both Capricorns, so I always thought that was cool. And anybody who's a Philadelphia area music fan, I just called in and had Jackie Bam Bam play this on the air for Paul Stanley's birthday. So it was like, it was perfect. And he says, you're the only one that would know that he was singing about a Capricorn, because that's his birthday. And it's just like but I always thought this song really, it's like the fact that, like, when you have, again, Gene and Paul singing together, and then a lot of it, even the imagery of it, like just like this hot chick, like, I can feel you, baby, with my hand. This like it. That's where he sounds like the coolest guy on the planet. Yeah. Like, just chicks are loving him, and you're expecting some super hot woman. And I love this song. This ranked very high from me.
Yep. Oh, I failed to mention that I did give She a 10. I gave a couple 10s on this record. That's one. Mike D, what do you got for Come On and Love Me?
I gave this one a 7.5. I kind of like this one, even though it was a little cheesy for me. But
Wait till we get to Asylum, Mike.
It's gonna be
Oh, man.
great.
I feel bad now. I feel bad for Asylum.
I'm glad the rest of us like it a little bit more. Oh man. So Come On and Love Me, I gave it a 10. It's a great song. I like the lyrics. I like it's Kiss storytelling, right? I like the backing vocals. I like that they split the vocals between Gene and Paul. One of my favorite Kiss songs still to this day. Coming number 2, Love Her All I Can, Damo.
My favorite track on the record, man. I love this song so much. I love the main guitar riff. Really, really cool groove to it. This is next to Detroit Rock City. I think this is probably my favorite Peter Criss drum track. It's like a total Motown drumming style, and I love the fills and everything right before the guitar solo. A little break, that little break where Peter does all the drum fills and stuff. I gave it a 9.75.
Okay, what you got, Matt?
Yeah, I gave it a 10. I agree. I mean, obviously, everything Damien just said. There's so much to love on this song as far as like, Ace's solos. There's like 2 solos. There's that drum part. And again, like I mentioned earlier, the thing I really like about this, it really is a song about he's in a good relationship. It's a song from the point of view of somebody who's really happy. And I mean, it's hard not to love that. And this really ranks probably among my favorite Kiss songs of all time, let alone on this album, just because it's kind of different, but it really does showcase everybody on this one song. Like if you had to say to somebody, listen to a Kiss song and you'll get a little bit of each original member, this is a good way to start.
Yep, absolutely. Mike D, what you got?
I need to listen to his perspective sometimes before I listen to the song.
That's a good idea. It'll be like an audio book, an audio book before you listen to it. Yeah.
This next song,
I like this one. I gave this one a 7, and I'm going to give my all too damn familiar description of this one as the classic Kiss sound again.
I think this one more than almost any of them. This is the sound where you say to yourself, this is really, you're hearing every member of this band shine on this song. So, I mean, if there was a song that really says classic sound, you're spot on with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's got that little hop, that bam, 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 bam. It's got that, it's got that early Kiss hop,
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave Love Her All I Can a 10. It's a 10 for me. Super cool verse and melody. Another standout track. It's just classic Kiss. Straight, simple, to the point. And, what an awesome guitar part during the breakdown. I love it. Ace totally does the Ace thing. It's a good tune. It's definitely another one of my favorites. I forgot how much I like this record. Mm-hmm. It's really a fun record. Okay, guys, coming in at number 1, Rock and Roll All Night. What do you got, Damo?
The Rock and Roll National Anthem. I mean, look, what could he say? I mean, I don't get sick of this song. Even live, man. It is probably the like quintessential like closer for any band. I mean, I can't think of another song that's better to close any like rock concert than Rock and Roll All Night. It's it's still a great time. Even on the last tour, it was just, all the confetti and balloons and all that stuff. So much going on. It's a lot of fun. I should have gave it a 10, but I gave it a 9.5. Only because I like Love Her All I Can a little bit better. And that's how I based all my stuff. I know it's stupid.
What do you think, Matt?
See, I gave it a 10 too. And it's funny because even this version is not as good as the version on Kiss Alive. Like Kiss Alive is the definitive version of this song. But this, I could listen to this a billion times and maybe have, but like you could listen to it over and over and it will always make you happy. Like even as Damien was describing it, you can see the smile on his face. It's because you can't hear that intro drums and not just you get pumped up. And it's like, it's one of those, to this day, I think also we do associate it with the end of the show, which was always huge, other than I think it was Hot in the Shade tour they did in the middle. One of the tours Revenge, they did in the middle. Yeah. Revenge.
And that was weird.
It's weird because then you feel like it was over and then you're like, what? Yeah. But then it's one of those things where it's such the definitive Kiss song. And think about this. At this point, they haven't really taken off. Without Rock and Roll Night as a song, we might not even be talking about this, because this is really the song that broke them open. Really on Alive, that version really was what kind of launched them into becoming Kiss. But so it's, there's people, oh, it's overplayed. And you know why it's overplayed? Because we love it. It's great.
Yeah.
So it just, so yeah, 10 all the way for me.
Okay, Mike D.
So it's not really one of my favorite ones by them, but it's so iconic that I couldn't give it anything lower than a 9.
Right.
I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at that.
Mike.
That's a good score for Mike. That's a good score for Mike.
So it's not my favorite song on the album. It's not my favorite Kiss song, but it is Kiss. I at least that's what I believe. That's definitive Kiss right there.
Absolutely. Rock and Roll Night, I gave it a 10. Even though we heard the song a million times, there's no denying what a great anthem it is. It'll be remembered forever. That song will be around forever, whether it's a baseball game, football game, or whatever. It'll be around forever. And the live version on Kiss Alive is really the best version.
Yeah.
This ain't even the best version of it. It's just that it's got that memorable drum beat. As soon as you, like Matt said, as soon as you hear that drum beat, man, and the chorus, it's just a classic tune. The only thing I was curious about, it's funny because I actually looked it up. I'm like, because I don't fucking know. I was like, why do they spell like NITE instead of NIGHT? And I looked it up, and it really was just like a simplified way of saying night, like night instead of good night. I'm like, really? That's it? That's all it was?
When I spell night, it's always NITE.
Because you want to party every day.
I spell it with a K.
And I have to be correct.
Right.
I always spell it NITE.
I always wondered that. And I was like, I want to look that up. And I was kind of disappointed. That's all it was. I thought it was going to be something different.
All right, it's funny. We're talking about spelling. On the cover of the album, do you ever notice that it's missing an S in the top corner?
No.
I never
noticed that.
I think it was on the podcast. It might be 15 years ago or whatever. Somebody brought that up, and I remember looking at going, I'd never noticed it. And now you can't not notice it, but it was just like, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, it's missing an S.
What was that now when they re-released it, when they didn't have the emboss around it?
No, every version of it, it's the same way.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I never noticed it until you just said it. I never even thought of it. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, man. So looking at the scores for Kiss Dress to Kill, Damien gave it an 8.175. Dame likes to get a little extra points over there. Matt gave it an 8.5. Mike D gave it a 7.1. I gave it an 8.63. And the total is an 8.1. Dress to Kill, an 8.1. So before we get into us doing Asylum, I just want to touch base with Matt for a second. I can't even say it. For a second here. Matt, what do you got going on? Anything interesting?
2025 is off to some kind of start, but obviously I'm still doing all the same stuff as far as fun things. Like I'm still doing the Kiss Room. I do a show on Saturday nights called 10 O'Clock Rock, which is just all mostly hair bands and things like that. All on Montco Radio. And if anybody wants to check montcoradio.com, if you know me, I say it almost every other day. So it's things like that. And obviously, I have a bunch of there's some Kiss stuff going on that I'm not really allowed to even talk about right now, but not trying to be cryptic, but I had to sign an NDA and all that.
Nice.
So it just so there's a lot actually going on with Kiss that is happening behind the scenes. So I'm gonna have some fun things up ahead in about less than a month from now that do involve Kiss. So it's so yeah, keep listening to the Kiss Room. I'll reveal it on there.
Awesome.
I want to say real quick, I listened to your curated playlist a lot.
Woo!
Dude,
Thank you.
I listen to it like pretty often. I think and it's the one that is on the Kiss Spotify page. And
I really
it's
appreciate
a great mix,
that,
man.
It's funny because the group from Pop House, actually, that was Pop House. Of course, anybody that's listening, if you're not like a deep Kiss fan, Pop House bought Kiss. So anybody that's out there that doesn't know, they basically sold all of Kiss, the makeup, the name, and everything to Pop House, which is this Swedish company, and they are guiding the future of Kiss with the, what do you want to call, the avatars and all this stuff. And they were the ones that said to me, would you do this? Be the first one to do a fan curated official,
That's
and
awesome.
and I was thrilled. And you know what? Considering it's the internet where 99% of everybody wants to crap on whatever comes out, I got like a really good response from it. Like I'm thrilled to hear that you say that you listened
I
to it
love it. Yeah.
because it really was one of those things where you go like even when I was meeting with them, and believe it or not, there was a lot of meetings about making a playlist. Was I said to them, look, if four people like it, one will say, but this is what my band does, and the rest of them are all going to say, well, this is shitty. I would have done a better version. And
Yeah.
then they were all laughing. And I'm like, you know what? Pretty much, I'd say about 99% people loved it and had a good time with it. And that was the idea behind it, was to try and play, like, it's called hidden hits. And I mean, obviously,
Right.
if you have Spotify, we all have the same amount of songs. It's not like, you're digging through your cassette box and finding
Right.
that one thing that you have that nobody else, that nobody else has. But there's songs that definitely don't get as much love, that maybe
Eyes of
are
Love you got on there?
Eyes of Love. That one, it's funny because some people criticize that. Well, that's not even a Kiss song. That's an Eric Carr song. And you go,
Yeah.
you know what? It's the Kiss family. You're all together on it, and like, so it's an Eric Carr song. But think about that. Now, if like Hot in the Shade had like 67 songs on it.
That should have been on there.
Why did they cut that out? Because that's a great song.
Yeah.
Better than Cadillac Dreams.
Think about that for the time. If they had released that with Eric singing, man, I think people would have loved it.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that you going deep in there and listening along and knowing what's on there. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I saved it.
I do got, before we go into Asylum, I do got one question for you, for Matt and for Damien. I don't think Mike either knows or really gives a fuck, so I'm not going to ask Mike on this one. Do you think Kiss should have recorded Sword and Stone? I thought it would have been huge if it came out on the Crazy Nights.
I think so. I think that
that was a missed
I
opportunity.
actually like
should
that
have recorded
song,
that.
You know that song. You know
I
that?
know
They
that
should have
song,
did
yeah.
some of those songs that Paul was shopping, that like Time Traveler. Those songs were really, really good.
Yeah.
Eyes of Love was a great song. Hide Your Heart probably should have came out on
Earlier.
Crazy Nights.
Yep.
But for whatever reason, the producer didn't think it was a good fit. So
Sword-
you can't change history.
Sword of the Stone. That was on the what soundtrack was that on?
Shocker.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was a faithful
rendition of it,
cover.
yeah.
I mean, it sounded exactly like the version
Yeah.
they did, guitar solo and everything. So
Yeah, I mean, I thought that would have been a perfect fit on Crazy Nights. I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
How about you, Matt? What do you think with Sword and Stone?
Yeah, that's one that's been floating around forever. I think that I figured out that one on like one of those where you remember you used to go to the Kiss Expo and buy them on a cassette tape.
Yeah.
It was on one of those, and it like came on the tape and everything. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because there's like that era, it would have fit perfect. And like you said, that I think it's Bonfire. Is that who does it on the Shocker? Yeah. They do a really close version to what's on that demo. So they were probably like, wow, this could have been a Kiss song. We're not going to change it. It's like, that's the thing. That's one that definitely floated around and never had an official release. Really never has as far as Kiss goes.
Yep. Real quick, let's go by our final thoughts for Dress to Kill as we wrap up Dress to Kill. Damien.
Yeah, as Mike and Matt mentioned, it is probably like, it's the definitive Kiss sound. If you want like a no frills Kiss record, it's Dress to Kill. I mean, it's a very pure Kiss record, I think. I think it's mixed great, it sounds great. And it's so many classic songs on there, and it's definitely like in my top 3 favorite Kiss records.
Cool. Matt?
I'm right there with him. I mean, as far as it's among my top favorite Kiss albums and really albums of all time. Straight ahead, no messing around, not a bad song on it. It's funny, even when you factored it out, that it came in around an 8. I probably should have even scored it higher. A lot of time it's like one of those things where you sit there with your scores. You don't just want to go 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. But I mean, I really do love every song. There's not one that I would skip. There's nothing on here that really makes you want to skip. So
yeah, well, that's the hard thing when you do the rankings. I know Mike. It happens to Mike a lot, where he'll go, I like this album a lot better than how it ranked out.
Right.
And it's just the way it's when you break it down, it just looks a little different, Mike D, final thought on Dress to Kill.
It's probably my second time, maybe third time listening to this, and I forgot a lot of it by the time I actually listened to it now. But yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it. I mean, it's actually probably one of the ones I like better in their collection.
Gotcha. My final thought for Dress to Kill is for an album that was on a tight budget, I think it really delivers pretty damn good. It's a solid classic Kiss record. A must-have for any Kiss fan, of course. I gave 4 10s on this record. It sounds so raw and scrappy. That's the best way I could put it. It's raw and scrappy.
Yeah.
And the mix, like Dame said, for Neil Bogart going in there or whoever, the mix was pretty damn good for that tight budget,